Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Everybody, and as you can guess by what you see and the title card, I have decided to go on with working on the time machine this week. Here you see the final chair. I have not glued the swans in or the arms, but this is where it's going to be until I pick it up again. I'm going to set this aside until I have gotten everything else a lot further down the road. I still have to paint the brass tacks on everything, but I have done an initial sweep of the flocking. You can see the dents in the cushions are much more noticeable now because I cleaned out all of the recesses where there was flocking sitting in there. So everything is kind of sitting in place. That will go to the side, and I'm going to continue work on the electrics this week, the circuitry, and this console that goes up front. Right now, I am in the process of, well, actually this is a process that started last night, of printing 2 more dishes. These are the ones that will go to Wayne and to Phil, but as you can tell, these take a while to print. I have been printing for 15 hours. I've got an hour and a half left, so yeah. Best to leave those guys printing overnight. So I have been working up the diagram on how my wiring is going to go, and once I get that graded by the principal, that would be Wayne, just to double check me to make sure I've not forgotten anything, I can go about the hard work of actually getting them installed. The first thing to do would be to glue them into the rails. I want to get this chair, I'm going to put it in the display room so that it is completely off of my radar and I will not be fussing over it or getting anything accidentally spilled on it. There, the chair has gone, and now I can concentrate on what's in front of me. I've also got the dish out because this week I would like to paint the dish. That would be fun and showy. And I also need to create some painting masks because there are several colors going on in here. There's some titanium gold, there's obviously some copper, there's a bunch of stuff going on in here, and I want to make myself happy with the color choices that I've got. And then once that happens, I need to be able to mask off this thin rail here because this is what gets painted. And so if I can mask these bigger areas, that will make that life so much easier. The back of it is, I mean, there's precious little known about the back of it. I'm going to have to start doing some more epic research on the film and other appearances of the machine to see exactly what happens on the back. But you know, as this is being displayed as a party piece, the back of it's going to get obviously the least amount of notice. I just need to get a nice finish on it. So let's do this. But you'll see how it's gonna fly. It's gonna sit something like that. So that's on tap for this week, is to get these not only the other 2 dishes that are printing. I want to get those primered and maybe in the mail. If I can get the templates designed for it, then I can send those off with templates already to go. See, the first thing I want to do is to bury these wires. Oh, I don't think I ever did show you here. This is what I did last week as far as channeling out the bottom. Basically wires, you know, simple wire channels that will go. This is where the switch and the power jack will be. That's something I can create this week. This is the power coming up the mechanism. I really need to sand this off and get a better finish on it, but I want to make sure all the manhandling is done before I do that, because I'll just end up scuffing up whatever I've done. And then I'll get a coat of paint on this just to finish it up, it'll probably just be a black paint under here, and then I'll paint the feet with the brown paint. Anyway, that kind of sits to the side. Here you can see some scorch marks where I have heated this up to kind of bend it back into shape. It was warped a little bit. It's going to take some pulling into shape once things start getting glued to it, but there was one big warp that I needed to take care of. So first thing to do is to bury the wires in here, and to make sure I am using this 28 gauge wire that has a nice twist in it. And I'm be sending up 2 strands here to give me 4 wires up that side, and I will only actually need 2 wires to come back this side, unless Wayne says there's a better way to do what I've done, in which case I will run 4 wires on both sides, or 2 strands on both sides. I think I'm going to end up running 2 strands on both sides, even if I don't use them. Better safe than sorry. That way, if something goes wrong with one of the strands, I'll have backup. That's always nice. So these, I don't know whether you see, these are the pieces that go at the top. These go at the top, and those find their way into the sides of the main mechanism. And I think I might need to hollow a little bit of that out so that when the lighting hits it, it will work right. And I'm also thinking that it's going to be easier to work with this piece if I cut a chunk out of it. I'm going to cut a chunk out of the bottom of that. That's hopefully going to be easy to patch. It's going to be better than trying to, wire up the circuit and slide it in the side and all that. If I can just, work at it like that. So that's what's on my plate today. Join me, won't you? Alrighty, working slowly and diligently and ever so carefully, I have buried the 2 leads into the left-hand rail. I found it was more effective to put them side by side than to try to bundle, twist them together, which is nice because it also puts less strain on the wiring. But now that that has been CA'd into place, what I want to do is to trowel in some sort of liquid, either 1 minute epoxy, probably not, maybe epoxy sculpt, something to cover that over. Maybe JB Weld will cover that over, and then that will give me my inside dimension. Then something I can lightly sand, put some putty over that. But that is the left-hand rail, and I think I want to cover that first before I go on to the right-hand rail, because I have to do the same thing all over again. So it'd be better off if I knew what the entire procedure was going to be. So let me mix up some of the 2-part JB Weld. All right, I think that's going to work a treat. That I just put a layer of epoxy, or of the JB Weld, the 2-part JB Weld, and I just laid it on top of the wiring. And that's the benefit of having the wiring going, or the channel being deeper than the wiring, is that the wire sits at the bottom of the channel now, and I am able to completely cover that wire with the epoxy. And I'm going to let this skim over, and I'm going to try very hard not to, well, the more little cleanup I do now, as far as getting it off where I don't want it to be, the more cleanup I do now while it's wet, is the easier it's going to be. But I think that's fairly inconspicuous by time you look at the finished model and how it's going to be sitting. I may have to put just a rim of putty over the top of that to get the roundedness back. It may end up being a little bit of a plateau, but I really have to see how that looks to see whether it's going to bother me that that's going to be a flat top. Depending on the angle of the dangle and how it's going to show, it may not be a big deal. So I'm just cleaning off, trying to keep it off of the filigree here at the front, using the back of the blade, because the last thing I want to do at this point is inadvertently scratch the covering of the wiring. I don't want to short anything out. So I've got it bundled up here. This is the wire that goes down in the base and out. This all looks very good. I'm going to set that aside and let it dry. That's going to take a few hours, and I am going to do the same thing on this. I am going to go ahead and put the 2 bundles of wire in here. I can see that it's no problem doing that. It's no great hardship to put 2 sets of wires in there, and I think that's just going to give me more options down the road if I want to change a function around or move how something is wired. So I'll start by getting my cut piece and my spool of the 28 gauge wire, which I got at, people will ask, so I'll tell you, I got this at Evans Lighting, where I get my SM LEDs. Just look under their wiring tab. You'll see this, you'll see 30 feet red twisted black, rated for 36 volts at 5 amps, evansdesign.com, solid copper insulated wire, 28 gauge. And I'm just going to pull out an appropriate amount here. And yes, I know if it's way too long, I can cut it off. Better to have too much wire than too little. Wire stretchers are not a real thing, kids. So, you know, cheap insurance to run just a little bit more wiring than you think you need. Pull the rubber band out. There you go. I'm just using a rubber band to hold the wiring in on the spool. So that sits back there. Now, the thing I need to do that's the important step at this point is I need to number or label these wires so that I know this is the number 1 strand, so that when I look at the bottom of it, I don't have to guess where the top of it is. Now, if these were 4 different colors of wire, that wouldn't be an issue, but since this is 2 strands of red and black, I need to differentiate them when they are at the top and bottom of each run. Alrighty, there is the right side rail. Of course, this is going quicker than it did the first time because now I know what I'm doing. That always speeds it up the second time. And also, I think this channel was cut a little deeper, which made it a lot easier. But now we've got the CA and the kicker that is holding that all in place. That is also helping solidify this rail where it might have had some of the structure taken away from all of the hollowing out I did. Now that's strong again. So more epoxy sculpt, or not epoxy sculpt, more JB weld, and we'll fill in this channel, and then we'll have a reason to set both of those aside, and we can start maybe working on the main console. Ooh, that'd be fun. Hey Ma, the dishes are done. Now the cleanup begins. Well, you may ask yourself, why is the chair back on the table? Go ahead, ask me. Well, Lou, why is the chair back on the table? Well, because I screwed up. I was so intent on proving Elliot Brown wrong, and he is wrong, by the way. I'll take my small comfort in that. I went back to look at the footage on the film again to prove and to find evidence, and I will put it in right here, that the chair is velvet. It is not leather. It is clearly not leather. It is clearly a flocked velvet. Particularly noticeable in the outdoor scenes. But I was so intent on doing that I tripped myself up, because in doing so I realized that yes, the armrests are coming off backwards. The one time that George uses the armrest the way it should be, because most of the time he just hops over the rail, it does not. It is hinged back here. It opens from the front. And the reason I can tell you that, I will put the screen grab in after this little rant, is because of this joint right here. When he has it up in the air, you can see that piece of metal right there. Okay, you can see him lifting up the arm right there. He will slide over the handle, over the rail, and then he will set it back, reach behind him, and pull it back. And that means I need to go back and redo the hinges on this arm. Okay, it's been a major detour, and it's taken a good chunk of the day. or a chunk of the good day, or a piece of my mind, or whatever. But we have a forward opening arm now with a wee hinge in here. Now, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but sing it with me, kids. It works. It's not pretty, but it works, and that's my mantra. That'll be on my tombstone if I ever have a tombstone, which is unlikely since I am going to choose to be cremated. That it is not pretty, but it works. We have a lift in the front. We have a hinge in the back. We are good to go. Now all I need to do is recreate that on the right arm. Important lesson to do your research, check your sources, recheck your sources, and just for giggles, check your sources again. So having checked my sources for the umpteenth time, yes, and now we have two arms that hinge from the back and like they should. And now I can replace the pad, go back to where we started, the beginning of our day, push that in place. Come on, get the cushion in place. Now that was something I was afraid was going to happen once I glued those swans in place, is that was not going to fit. And I think that it will. I just need to do some prodding. There we go. Okay, pads in place, arms in place. Now I can set this aside like I had originally done. Of course, the good news is I've determined through all of this handling of the chair that the flocking is not coming loose. That's nice. But now I can set this to the side and get back to what I was working on today. Although this is a very nice news to inform you that the epoxy, or the JB weld, has set up just very nicely. This kept me from playing around with it. Since I was working on the other thing, I couldn't be meddling where I ought not be meddling with the with this JB weld, and these have dried in quite nicely. Okay, so I'm having a trying day. Having a trying day on the electric. So I'm going to try one last thing that Wayne has suggested, and then I'm going to go grab some paint because I feel I need to paint something. Backed into a corner on this, and it's bugging me. So I'm going to go out. I need to get some filler primer and some gold paint, and I'm going to start painting the dish. And hopefully that will ease my mental block on what's happening with the power here. Now I can get, here's where we're at. I can get the 3 lights that need to go on the top. I can get that working with the nano board. Where I'm lacking is I need to I can't get them to slow down or speed up using this pot. That's the pot meter is where something is going horribly awry. So that's the trouble spot. Okay, so we're winding down Tuesday, and it may look like there's not a lot of progress. And truth to be told, I don't feel that there's a lot of progress. I did a lot of back and forthing with the electronics today, and that's, mixed results. But I did get a primer coat on the rails. I've got some Tamiya white putty over the roughed up places where I put the wiring in. That could be refined and sanded down tomorrow. I put some primer coats on the big dish. That's going to be fun. And to not leave the day on a completely down note, I have the first golded piece. This is the first piece that's got the gold paint on it. First bit of framework. Yay! Take our wins where we can find them. Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday. Ran into some significant potholes yesterday, and some delays, and some frankly less than pleasing results. So I'm going to back up and try to do something different today. Gonna work on getting the starting to get the lights into here. Now I don't know because I don't know electronics. I'm beating my head against the wall here to figure out why the board is not working as it should. I think I'm putting everything together to the best of my ability given the instructions that I've got, but when I turned things on this morning, for some reason this pot meter started smoking, and I know that that's not good. So I'm gonna have to replace that, which means trying to it's gonna put a significant delay. If I can't find one locally, I'm gonna have to order some stuff online, and which, you know, puts things out of whack as far as expecting them to come in. So I'm gonna do the things that I think I know how to do the best and kind of work my way backwards. I know how to put a light in a kit. I've done that a million times. And wiring them to the board, though, seems to be the tough thing. So I am going to wire them into the model and then let the board end of it take care of itself later on. I'm hoping that maybe by solidifying some of these joints, everything will work itself out. Maybe it was the temporariness of everything that was causing problems. So things I can do today. This putty has had all night to dry, so I'm going to sand that down and get the gold paint on these side rails today. That will be good and a happy and a yay. I'm coming down on the inevitability that I am not going to be able to use the printed dish that I was hoping to use, and simply because I cannot get rid of the print layer lines. Now you can disguise print layer lines on an organic shape a lot easier than you can on a wide surface, which the back of that dish is nothing but a wide surface. Here, let me show you. I have tried every trick in the book that I'm aware of, and I'm still getting very noticeable lines. Now, if I could paint the texture over that, that would take care of it, I think. But this needs to be smooth and metallic, and you know how smooth and metallic paints really hate they'll love to show off every little defect. They hate every little scratch that you put in there will telegraph through a metallic finish, and that's where I'm at right now. I see nothing but these lines, and there's nothing on here. Now on the inside, yes, I can see those lines, but there's some, there's gonna be decals and paint and all kinds of stuff in here that might disguise that, but on the back you're gonna see nothing but a bunch of rotating print lines. I hate that. Now that means I'm going to have to use the kit part, which there are things I don't like about the kit part, but at least the kit part doesn't have those lines in it. So I'm kind of balancing my disappointment with that, my disappointment with how the wiring is going, and I'm trying to find some roses to stop and smell. So that's kind of where I'm at today. Here is the kit dish. And for all of what I think about the kit dish, and I really don't like that edge, but it's got a lot cleaner back on it. So I guess we're going to be stuck using the kit dish. Okay, so I've switched my mind from things electrical to things physical, and I've done another one of those butt puckering things that may come back to bite me, or maybe a stroke of genius, or it could just be a stroke. But to get into here, I cut a chunk of it out. Yep, I cut a chunk of it out because I cannot for the life of me seeing wiring that board and trying to shove it in from the side. How would you ever connect the lights, the wiring to the top of this? So, that's what I've done. That way I can get in from the bottom, do some wiring, do some soldering, and then replace this plug Now I have got some strip styrene here to make up for the width of the bandsaw blade so that I can fatten that back up and it will come back out to the proper size. I think with a little sanding and a little puttying, and the fact that this is going to be painted black, we might just have covered ourselves with enough glory that we won't have to do too much other work. Now, I wish this were thinner than it is, but it's not. So I'm not going to try to ream that out and make it any thinner. I believe we've got sufficient room for the wiring, for the lights and all of that. It's just getting access to it. So I think the first thing I'd like to do is to take this plug that I've cut out and go ahead and fatten it back up by putting the strip styrene on the top and the bottom so that I can wedge it back in there. So we'll do that, and then we're going to start working on getting these guys buried in the top. You see I've made that little collar for them so that if I can find it, where did it go? Where be it? Ah, here it is. It was sitting out here to be protected, so that when I put these cages on top, then they will sit. But I need to glue those down and then pull the wiring up and solder those wires together. Greetings everyone, it is Thursday, the gateway to the weekend, and we're going to do some more painting today. I have been applying the masks to these clear parts, and we are going to paint those and get them ready to be installed on the main control unit. I'm also continuing work on the control unit. I'm coming up with an idea to kind of close off these sides from the inside, and that will give me a surface to put a surface mounted LED so that I can light up these sides. This was a little small, so I had to make one that was a wee bit bigger that'll fit kind of down in there, and then this will sit on top of it and the light will shine out. Now this is where it attaches to the golden side rail. So it's going to be a question of, does it go to this first and then attach to the side rail, or do I attach it to the side rail first and then use that big surface to attach the side rail to the control box? Both approaches have their pluses and minuses, so that's kind of what while I'm figuring that out, I'll go ahead and paint them. I also want to get a base coat of primer on this piece. I'm working more on the revised pot switch for the control arm. Once I have figured out exactly where this needs to go, I want to kind of size it in there so that when I put the whatever I'm going to use for the attachment to the control arm, because the control arm is a resin cast piece that will slide into this, but I need to find something narrow enough that I might have to elongate that or open up this shaft a little bit, but it's basically going to attach to it something like that and work on that arc. The problem is I need to determine where on this guy is that top dead center spot so that I can line it up in the appropriate place on the slot here. I think it's going to be something like that, but I'm not 100% sure. What I'd like to do is to pre-attach enough wires to this board that I first get it in camera, that I can simply slide it. These wires here are not flexible enough for me, and I don't know whether I just need to replace them or what. I might need to get some stranded wire on those instead of this single copper wire. But the whole thing is going to slide into the body of the control panel like this. Come on, get in there. Like that. These wires, of course, will go to the side control here, and then I can close up the bottom. So that's how it works in theory. We're going to see how it works in the real world. Again, these wires here are, yes, they're a little long, but I'd rather work on the control, on the nano board kind of out here in the real world and then slide the whole thing in rather than trying to put it in place and then work with a bunch of tiny wires and tweezers and things like that. So this is going to fit in. I need to do something about this. This is the big wire that's in the way. This is that big ground wire that everything attaches to. So let's heat up the soldering iron and get rid of that and replace that with something that's a little bit more flexible. And while that's happening, I'm going to put these on a piece of board and spray them with a filler primer coat to kind of use it as light blocking. And then we will spray a black over top of all of this, and then a gold over top of the black here. So now that I've got everything lined out in front of me, let's get on with doing it. Okay, because I finished the day out with some painting. Yes, I went to the store, went to the hobby shop last night. They had some black paint in. Tamiya black paint is back, my friends. Yay! So some semi-gloss black on these end caps, and it looks like they could use another coating because they're going to have to do some hefty light blocking. So we're going to spray those again, and that's where we're going to finish out the day. Although I got to say, this is a marvel of actually getting something put together and done. I got to talk to Wayne, see what I can do about tweaking the programming on that board to make this do more of what I want it to do. But yeah, it's coming along very, very nicely. I was surprised I was able to get it down into that small a package. Well, good morning. It's Friday. It is the last work day of the week. It is the last work day on week 2 of the time machine, and today I'm doing the dishes. Yeah, I have to tell you, I was downhearted. I was depressed and downhearted and not feeling great about the printed dish that I had done, because of the work that I was doing on the back of it to get rid of the print lines. And I tried one last ditch effort, which was the white appliance epoxy paint, which smooths everything out. I'm going to take this off the screen because I don't want to ruin the surprise. That was my last ditch effort. I'm going to try covering this thing with the epoxy appliance paint. And if that doesn't work, then I'm just going to scrap the 3D printed dish, and I am going to just use the one that came with the kit, even though I didn't care for the profile on that. So I did that, and it didn't help. I could still see the layer lines. And then I painted gold over top of the appliance paint, and that just turned the whole thing into a big onion skin. The two paints reacted badly with each other, and I said, well, that's it for that dish. I'm going to start going and start cleaning up the dish that came with the kit. But let me try this one last thing. So I got out a palm sander, a big power tool of a palm sander, and some fairly aggressive sandpaper on it, just to see if I could scrape the onion skin stuff off. And that turned out quite nice. And I actually put a primer coat back over that and a gold layer, and look at that. Now you can still see some very faint layer lines if you look in there. Very faint. But that's what I was able to bring back out of that finish. And I am more than happy enough to use that. So happy, in fact, that I painted the inside today. And the two colors they're variations of copper. And the inside is like a pale copper, and this is like a dark copper. A dark metallic brown copper. I'm going to do a little bit of regular copper over top of this because I think I darkened it too much. I'm just going to do a dusting coat over it. I took the copper and mixed a little black in with it, and I got this dark color. Now, you could still see some print lines in here. And you can see where the orientation is. You can see the print lines. But the inside has decals and filigree and details to cover up a lot of this area. So it's not quite as noticeable as this big blank, expanse of nothing but curve. So I'm hoping that the part of that work is going to be disguised by the decals. But I want to paint. Oh, by the way, you'll notice this was a defect in the printing, but I decided to keep it. I'm calling it the nick of time. This is the nick that's in the dish. That is my nick of time. Because the inside, with all this detail, is very difficult to do any sanding or patching on, because you'll end up scraping off the detail and you'll have to go put it back in. So, what I want to do a real quick dusty coat of the straight up copper. Actually, this is dark copper. I just dust over top of that, and then I'll pull back the color that you can see on the inside. Let's see, just a wee bit here. Blow the dark copper out of the brush. That's still kind of dark. I might have to go out and find some actual light copper or regular copper Tamiya to bounce off the top of that, because I don't have any. I don't want to mix any other color of any other brand of paint on top of that, having learned the onion skidding lesson from yesterday. But I need to brighten that up just a touch. Alrighty, so I just brightened up that copper just a little bit with using a little bit of gold. Now, this area in here is supposed to be gold, and there's actually a gold detail that goes up the edge, or up the center here, but those might have to be painted on by hand. I'm not sure. If I can do a straight line mask, it really comes up almost at an angle like that. And it's very high polished gold. I almost don't want to do that until I get the metal turned pieces that are going to make up the mechanism, because I kind of want to match those colors. And I don't know what those colors are yet. So we're going to let this sit for a while. The lovely dish. And let me show you how those clear parts turned out from yesterday. Okay, here's what we've got from yesterday. These are the end caps for the front console and the back, and this is with the masks removed, and you see what a nice clean look you get out of that. We'll be able to shine a light through that just perfectly, and the same with the front sides of the console. I'll take the masks off of these. This is the date plate, and that's got a brass finish, and you can see where we've got the. When I do that, you can see how the light can shine through there. And those will get decals that have the dates, the day, the date, and the year on them. I haven't decided which decals I'm going to use. I will be very tempted not to paint those with a clear, just to increase the intensity of the color. If I painted those on the back with a clear red, yellow, and green, then when I put the decal on the front, it will intensify the colors some. And then here are the 3D printed cages for the brake light and for the 3 LEDs that go on the main console. So getting lots of little bits done. Hopefully we'll be able to start combining things. I've got a Zoom call with Phil and Wayne for later today, and we're going to talk about this. But this will sit on here just like that. But I don't know. Here's the problem that I have. When I use the throw on the dash here, using the throttle control, it's not giving me enough. I mean, it sits in the center and it turns off, but even when I push it full forward, it's not going fast enough. And I could cheat and open up this channel a whole lot more, and that would give me more oomph, but that's cheating. So I want to see if we could change the programming so that when it's in this position, it's at the fastest speed, and then that's off, and then that's the fastest speed again. Because right now that's off, and that's about half speed, and that's about half speed there. So I want to see if we can tighten up the reaction on the programming there. Once that happens, I'll be able to seal this all up, and then it goes something like this. Goes something like that, and then attaches to the framework. So I'll be able to put this together and paint it, black. And then of course these cages go over each of the LEDs like that. So we're getting there. Progress is happening. All will be revealed in time. I have to keep using the time jokes because that's all we have is nothing but time. Okay, I've just done some riveting work, simply riveting work, and that is, I know it's not rivets, they're brass tacks. Getting down to the brass tacks. Painting, oops, I missed the inside arm there, but that really adds a level of detail when you do those little rivet heads. That really adds a nice level of detail to the chair. Now the thing is, I've been away from this chair for more than a few days, and I can tell you that the flocking on it is very strong. I couldn't scrape it away with a brush. Not that, you know, I'm going to give you opportunity to, you know, scratch it with a fingernail or anything, but it is remarkably resilient. Now, I'm just going to go in here and put a dot. Now, you have to be very, very careful because if you get any paint on this flocking, you're going to have a bad day. So, I'm trying to be very cautious and keep my brush clean so that it is only... I'm only touching, boy, that's going to be tough to get into. Let me see if I can get around that somehow. Yeah, let me turn the camera off because you're making me nervous. Okay, so we're coming up at the end of a Friday afternoon, the end of the second week, and we've got a lot of progress now. We're going to start with the chair. Yes, I've got the arms completely fixed now. They are opening from the back like they should. I've got the brass tacks painted. You can see them, and they do make a very nice contrast. I mean, they make a very nice finishing touch to have the brass tacks. Now we'll remove this and get it out of the way so that I don't mess it up. Significant progress on the dish. Let's get back over here. Significant progress on the dish, getting the back of that and getting the front of it, and the painted bits here. Of course, we've got the channeled wires inside the framework. Got the frameworks all painted. Those ready to go. The base has been painted. You saw that last week. No big changes on that. Of course, the big deal for this week was getting everything stuffed into here. Now, Wayne has shown me. I just got off of a Zoom chat with Wayne and Phil, and Wayne has shown me a way to alter the programming of the Arduino board so that that will give me more latitude in the programming of where the lights come on and speed up and slow down on this arrangement. So I'm going to be doing that this weekend, giving it a good go. I just want to throw some power on this. Yes, I could throw some power on this to show you one last time for the week how this looks. I'll go ahead and throw some voltage at it. There we go. Let's turn everything off. So here, oh, I can put this bit over the front now. Isn't that nice? So we've turn this overhead light on. So we've got the control stack ready to go, and when we push that up towards the front, we can see that we've got the lights blinking. These are the side lights that go behind here. Don't know why they look so green. That's supposed to be a yellow, but it does give a bit of a green cast to it. But that's the three of them, and then when you pull this back, it slows down to the point where it stops, and then inching it down towards the bottom, it comes on again and does the thing. So we're going to put that back up to where it stops, and this is ready to, once I get that programming fixed, this will be ready to install in the front of the time machine. Well, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, that's going to do it for week 2. Week 2 on the Sprue Challenge time machine build. Again, this kit is available from Mike's Models on eBay. newsflash, just in, Mike has requested that folks give him cut him a break or two here. Yes, everybody wants to build this kit now. It has skyrocketed his demand for his kit. He's only one man. He's got one caster. He needs some more lead time to get these kits out. So yes, by all means, go ahead and order whatever you want to order, but be understanding that it's gonna be a while before you get your kits. I've also had people ask me about producing a dish for them. Now, I don't know if that's going to be practical. This dish here, I can print 2 at a time, maximum. It takes 17 hours to print them. So, logically, or feasibly, or realistically, we're talking in excess of $100 per dish in power, in resin, and wear and tear on the machines, all that kind of stuff. You know, a lot of people price 3D printing by the hour, and that's what it takes. They figure out, and I think the predominant going rate is like anywhere between $5 and $10 an hour. So figure that out. So if it was like, $10 an hour at 17 hours, come on, that's $170. Yes, I think my math is right on that. And that's, anyway, I don't know if it's practical. And I really don't want to go into and that doesn't even count postage. I don't know if I want to go into the 3D printing business. That's the whole nuts and bolts of it. I got enough businesses to run as it is. So I'll be happy to make the masks available. I just don't think I'll be printing any parts. Take that as you will. But that's the latest on week 2. So next week we'll continue putting all this together. We still haven't begun to tackle the mechanics of getting the thing physically spinning. So that's going to be another whole adventure in and of itself. So until next time, you be good to yourself, be good to everybody else around you, be good to each other, be good to yourself, be safe, be smart, be back next week.